Prestige Protective Coatings, introducing our new product line, Resin Tech. This is the countertop. It also comes industrial coatings and so on, but we're going to demonstrate the table countertop product right now. We have an old wood table. I think I paid $10 for it at a garage sale. You can see the condition of it is awful. I'm going to prep this right now. We'll sand it and put a primer coat on, and then we're going to put a beautiful metallic epoxy over it, and this table is going to be gorgeous. I'm going to start with the prep. I have a 1 quart measuring container that I've pre-done, 4 ounces for the A resin and then an additional 2 ounces for the B resin. It's a 2-to-1 ratio. I'll put in our white primer for this tabletop because I want a light metallic color, so we'll be using a white primer. I'll mix that up for about a minute and a half, and then because it's such a small surface, I'm just going to be brushing it on. If it was a countertop or a large table, I would be using probably a weenie roller. And I'm just pouring to my pre-marked lines. This is where it shows that I'm not a professional installer. And I'm going to go to my next mark. I've got my additional 2 ounces right to the line, just a little bit. This is 100% solids epoxy, beautifully clear by Resin Tech. They make a great industrial coating line, and then they have this sort of almost craft line, I guess you could call it. Just putting in some white pigment. I'm not going to need very much. And then I'm going to stir it up. I'm going to just use my same stick. And I want to make sure that I scrape the sides. Get all the pigment in there really good. Mix my resins up. And you should do this for about a full minute. Like all epoxies, once it's mixed up, get it out of the container. We'll certainly have some working time here. This is a very small surface, easy for anybody to do. But if I was doing a larger area, it's important to get that epoxy out of the container. Pour a bead out. Okay. And I just got my little inexpensive chip brush. You can see I'm going to be a little sloppy. I want to make sure I get all these crevices. This has already been taped off and draped off, so that's allowing me to be a little sloppy. So I've already poured off 4 ounces of my A resin. Then I'm going to put my B hardener, 2 ounces. It's a 2-to-1 ratio again. We're using the same kit. That's the great thing about these countertops. You're just going to be using a few ounces of each. And then I'm going to be putting in my powder pigment. I'm going to make 3 different batches. I'm going to use the bright white from Resin Tech as the body coat, and then we're going to do some highlight coats of a blue and a dark yellow, and I'll just be mixing that in as I need it. So I've already got my 4 ounces of A. I'm putting in my 2 ounces of the B hardener into my pre-marked containers. Okay. It's the nice thing about having these in the jugs is it's made to be able to be poured off, because that's the nature of a countertop. You're just going to be doing small portions. I'm going to, again, like previously, I'll be stirring it up. I'm just going to put in 1 spoonful. This is plenty. This is a beautiful white metallic. There's not a whole lot of a true white like this. You get a lot of pearls that have some silver undertones. This is a bright white by Resin Tech. It's beautiful. And with our white primer coat, this is going to be gorgeous. I'm going to pour this on, and again, letting it drip. I want to make sure I get the edges of my table covered really well. So, I'm going to pour my bead out. This epoxy has self-leveling properties to it also. Okay. So I am just gonna get my brush a little wet, and I'm just gently moving this around right now. And if you get to the top of the table, you're kind of seeing the light movement of the epoxy now. And because we put it over the white primer, like any metallic, that base color, that primer is going to kind of wick through. That's sort of what you want. A lot of times we use a black primer because it adds a lot of dimension to your metallic, but because I knew I was going to be doing a light white body. Okay. I'm going to mix up, then I'm going to go with my a yellow. Again, a 2-to-1 ratio. These are pre-marked containers. I'm going to pour out 4 ounces of A. And we have these nicely marked so I can see them from the inside. Pour 2 ounces of my hardener, the B. I'm going to use my yellow pigment this time. Very vibrant yellow. Mix it up. Okay, so what I'm going to do is do a light pour. I'm going to start off the table so that I don't get a clump, and I'm just going to go off the table. And I'm going to let that kick up for just a minute. I'm going to let that tack up just a teeny bit. I'm going to make my blue batch because I want my highlights to be a little, I don't want them to merge. Since I'm doing a blue and a yellow, I don't want to end up with a lot of green. Okay, this is my other highlight, 4 ounces of the Part A resin. Again, in my pre-measured, all ready to go container. And 2 ounces of my Resin Tech Part B. Okay. And I'm going to use this Resin Tech Blue. Okay. And I'm going to mix that up. I'm off the table, dribbling it on. Off the table. I really like this blue a lot, so it's going to be the primary. And that going off the table makes it look like it's a whole slab of something. Okay, so now I'm just gonna start to play around with this, and if I feel like I wanna add more yellow, I can. What I'm gonna do right now is just a little kind of stippling. So I've gone right into this blue. It's barely sat. And I'm just gonna move that along. And again, this is one of 1,000 ways to do this. And you can see I'm kind of pulled back. Okay, since I'm going with this blue into the yellow, I'm going to create a little green. I already know that. And I have probably 20, 30 minutes to be able to play around with this. Okay, and so now you can see, because I touched the yellow, I'm bringing a little yellow in there. And by stippling, I'm just kind of altering. Now I'm pulling up the white with the blue. And again, in 5 minutes, this is already going to look so different. And all I'm doing is pulling back up the metallics. I'm going to keep that little bit of yellow there because that's in my furniture, or excuse me, in the bed set. And I'm actually, I'm just going to let this sit for a few minutes and we'll see how it's looking.